Hello, welcome everybody to Inside the Birds with Jeff Mosher and Adam Kaplan. Of course, we're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the nation's #1 sportsbook. Make sure you download the Sportsbook app and use the code ITB when you sign up for bonuses. Today, we are very, very fortunate to be joined by an Eagles legend, a Pro Football Hall of Famer. You might know him better as Weapon X, Wolverine, or simply the most beloved athlete to ever play in Philadelphia. And of course, he's former Eagles safety Brian Dawkins. Brian, you're looking great. We hope you and your family are staying very healthy during this pandemic. And man, we really appreciate you joining us today.
No, thank you for those warm introductions as well. That always sounds crazy to me to think that my name is thrown into the pile as far as Philadelphia's favorite athlete. Like that's huge, man. It's very humbling to hear that time and time again, and it'll never get old. I mean, I'll never get used to that. I really won't.
I don't even think it's a question. It's always Brian Dawkins. You've done so much, Brian, for tens of thousands of Eagles fans, of NFL fans, on and off the field as a football player. But now you're impacting even bigger segment of the population with your Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation and your initiatives geared toward mental wellness. So whether it's a football life or your Hall of Fame speech, you've been very open lately about your personal journey through depression. And I want to start off by just asking you, at what moment, in whether it's during your football career or after, did you feel that you were going to be more public and more open about your own grapple with mental wellness and why you felt that way?
It was never something that I thought about, to be honest with you. It was something that I battled back then, and I do specific things going forward to stay winning, as I call it, to continue to stay in a good place on a continuous basis. But it's not something that I never really thought about. But as that time got closer and closer for the Hall of Fame and, talking about writing a speech, as I was praying and meditating on what it is I would share with whoever would be listening that day, it really hit me in my heart that I needed to be transparent on some things to help some people, because one of the things that I heard a lot of was, he's, you Hall of Fame, or you got it made. Like nothing ever happens to these dudes. Well, I'm like, nope, that's farthest from the truth. Matter of fact, let me give you some truth. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be transparent on some things. And in the process, I wanted to see who I can help with the things that I have gone through, and not just gone through. The thing that I wanted to really impress is the things that I have overcome. Like there's something about overcoming and growing through. That's the way I process things now. I grow through things. I don't go through things anymore. Going through something, I didn't learn something from it. But when I grow through, I learn something from it. So that's how my mind wraps around anything that I do going forward.
So Brian, during our time at ESPN together, I was not aware of some of the things you'd gone through throughout your life with mental illness and challenges of that sort. When you were growing up in Jacksonville, did it start there with you, or did it start later during your football career?
Well, one of the things that I'm doing with my foundation is to help some young adults, or starting like 8th grade this year, 8th to 11th, I believe, 8th to 10th or 11th. I lost a couple of friends during that time to the violence in the street. And I didn't know how to deal with that. We didn't have grief counselors coming around to see if, letting us know that it's okay to be sad and how to deal with these type of emotions. I didn't know about any of those things. And there's other things that I've seen in my life that, I didn't know how to deal with them. But you're always taught to, suck it up, to deal with it, you rub some dirt on it, just tough it up. But again, I didn't know how to deal with those things. And so when you don't know how to deal with something, you sometimes will do things that may be destructive. You may use some of that anxious energy to get angry. You might become someone that, begins to snap at other people or get into more fights in school or things of that nature. And so with this program, what we're introducing, myself, EVERFI, and through Beyond Sports, is we want to be able to equip individuals, whether that be the youngsters that I'm talking about, or their parents, if they get online to try it out, we want to equip them, with some of the things that they can do to use to see what's going on in their lives, to test some of the things that may not be going right for them, to test it. Is it just sadness, or is it I need some help in an area? Because sadness, we all feel sadness. But then when sadness begins to be prolonged and it's a long term, like a longer thing, or stress becomes toxic stress, or you're stressing all the time, then maybe that's time for you to get some help.
Can I ask you a follow-up to that real quick? Okay. Were there certain triggers, because you're talking about how they could go online with your program? Were there certain triggers that you had? You said that you lost some friends growing up. Were there certain triggers, though, when you were playing football, you just have down times? What were the triggers that would make you feel sad during your career?
Well, it wasn't really like during my career. It was during that time when I lost that friend. I didn't know how to deal with those emotions. So I'm in class and I'm tearing up, or I'm just feeling sad, overly sad, worse than usual. And I didn't know what was going on. So again, we can help some young people now dealing with some of the things that they're dealing with, to recognize, okay, it's okay what you're doing. I mean, it's okay to feel sad the way you're feeling it, but if you need help, these are the numbers, these are the places. If you see something in one of your friends, maybe they're dealing with some things, this is how you can talk to them. And if you can't help them, then, you two can both go to get some help. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to that. In my career, it was my rookie year of all the stress and a lot of things that was going on during that time. I wasn't someone that talked freely about my emotions. Most men aren't, which is not a good thing. We hold stuff in. We think we got to be tough all the time. No, sometimes the toughest things you can do is talk to somebody and let them know that you have issues going on with you, so that you can get the help that you need to be the better version of yourself. Because if you begin to hold too much stuff in, I know that's what I was doing, holding stuff in, not talking about it. Sometimes it'll take something, just one little small thing. I get the picture of, like, one of the cartoons, you have a cartoon character that's piling up a whole bunch of stuff in his hands. And then all of a sudden somebody drops a little feather on the top, and then everything crashes down. But that's what happens. Sometimes it's an argument which you would have with a loved one that has nothing to do with anything big, but because you're holding on to so much anger and resentment and guilt and whatever the case may be from someplace else, you unleash all of that on that loved one. And so these are the type of things that happens to, again, us as men when we do not find good places to talk. Find people. There's people in our lives that we can go have conversations with.
Brian, you mentioned, talking to kids and teaming with EVERFI. And can you talk a little bit about what EVERFI is doing? It sounds like they are the educational arm that you partner with your foundation. They go into schools and they kind of set up an online learning program to make awareness for mental health and wellness.
So one of the great things about it is, I was blessed to run into EVERFI when I went to speak at a conference out in New York. Beyond Sport got together. It was NBA, representatives from NBA, NHL, NFL, WNBA, and some other institutions. And we was talking about mental health, and they wanted me to share my story, and I did. And during that time is when I met EVERFI. And when I researched them and checked them out, they do a very good job of producing content that individuals can go online to do. And I love that part of it. Yes, you can do some things in person, and they have some programs and some things to be able to, do in classrooms or whatever the case may be. But the fact that they have things that you can do online, like in the privacy of your home, a kid by himself, they can go on, check in, and then it's a comprehensive and it's a interactive thing too. They learn as you go, and it's different story modes that you can go through to check out different people and the things that they've gone through. Maybe it's something that you've gone through. Maybe it's something you've seen somebody else go through, and now you have questions that you can, this is what you can ask for. This you can ask this that way, and this is the reason why you want to do it that way. So when I saw that, and I saw how deep and how deep they went into it, but how simple they've made it for individuals to do. I had to do something with them. I had to allow them to help me reach out from a broader perspective, to reach as many people as possible with these resources.
So Brian, mental wellness is something we all are challenged with. And I know you have a term for it, cerebral wellness. Could you explain what that exactly is?
So let me speak to that, what you just said. So we all have mental health, all right? Every person walking the face of this earth has mental health. Not all of us have mental illnesses. So there's a difference. There's a separation there. But the problem is, when I say mental wellness, what people hear is mental illness. That's what happens. So there's such a negative connotation when it comes to talking about mental health, because the first thing I say is mental health. Oh, they have something wrong. No, it's nothing. Maybe there's nothing wrong. We're just talking about my mental health. And these are the things that I do to stay healthy in my mind. But we don't do it like that. So it's a negative. So what I've done is I like to take ownership of things. I like to take it, digest, chew it, eat it, swallow it, and now I want to take ownership of it. So what I did is I looked at a couple of words that mean something to me, mean something different that I can talk about. So cerebral wellness. Cerebral has to do with more of a information gathering process before making a decision. So it's not an emotional decision. It's about gathering more information, more details, right? And then wellness has to do with being whole and being healthy in your body and mind, but it's about certain things that you have to do on a consistent basis, to have that happen. So now you put cerebral. Listen, I'm not making emotional decisions, right? I'm gathering information and I'm doing things on a continuous basis so that I can be healthy in my mind and my body. And I add spirit in there as well. Now, I love that combination. So when I say cerebral wellness, you're not thinking about an illness. You're not thinking about negativity. You can't when you speak negative things about yourself on a consistent basis, or when you think the thing that you're saying in your mind is negative, then I believe negative things will continue to come your way. I don't want to speak negative over myself. I want to speak positivity. And for me, cerebral wellness does that.
And you mentioned you came across EVERFI at, I guess, a conference that involved multiple sports leagues. And I wonder, in your opinion, as you kind of survey sports right now in regards to what we're speaking about, I know teams have chaplains. I know certain teams have sports psychologists to speak to. But do you feel, given the fishbowl atmosphere, given the youth of the athlete and all the demands, do you feel that sports teams in general provide enough of services for athletes, their own athletes, to deal with cerebral wellness and mental health issues?
I mean, we're talking about it more. They're doing a better job of having those individuals that can come in to speak, but the stigma is still there. Because if I go and talk, I can just feel like if I go and talk to my supervisor or someone in PR, whatever the case, not PR, HR, about something that's going on with me, maybe, especially in football, maybe they might feel like that I'm not all the way well. Maybe they might think that they might need to go get somebody else because I might can't do my job at the high level. So maybe I need to just keep all of what's going on with me to myself. Those are some of the issues that I believe that people have felt, the stigma wrapped around it. But the truth is, we all go through different things, different levels sometimes, yes, but we all go through different things. Like if I ask the question to most people that have you ever had a thought that the situation, the circumstances, or where you are at a specific time in your life, things would be better if I wasn't here? If you thought that, if you just thought that, then yes, we all have some issues from time to time. I'm not saying you're going to act on it, but the fact that you thought about it, or you thought about it for a week or two, yes, those are things that happen to most people, that we have those conversations with ourselves. Self-talk is what people call it. We have those self-talk, and some of that self-talk can be dark sometimes. But to understand that, you don't have to stay down that path. There's equipment that you can have things that you can put in your toolbox that you can one of the things that I've learned, you can reframe the question. You can reframe where you are. You can name the emotion that you have in your life going on at that minute, so that you can reflect on, look at, what do I need to do to stop this specific emotion? Why am I actually feeling this way? It may not be this thing that I'm feeling this way because of. Maybe it's something that happened to me 10 years ago that I have not dealt with, that is causing me to react to this specific stimuli the way that I'm reacting to it. These are some of the things, again, that is kind of talked about in the course as the kids go through it.
Brian, as you were going through this, you did mention it was your rookie season. So and you talked about how we all struggle with opening up to people. What made you eventually open up? You obviously told, whether it was your wife, a family member, a friend, whoever it was, what made you decide, you know what, I got to get help? What was the impetus for you to do that?
It was Connie, my beautiful wife, and Emmett Thomas, my coach at the time. And as I said in my Hall of Fame speech, like, they were the reasons that I went to actually see somebody. That it was almost you going to see somebody. So I tell people I made the choice to go see, but no, they were like, no, you going to see somebody. And that's what happened. I went, I listened to them. I know both of them love me. And so I went to have a conversation with somebody that I have never met before in my life. It was very nerve-wracking and embarrassing in the beginning to begin to talk to that person. It took me a little while to open up completely and begin to talk about some things, but I did. I got past that, and I began to talk about the things that I needed to talk about. And some of the things that I needed to deal with had nothing to do with what was going on right there. It was things that I needed to, people that I needed to talk to from in the past, that I needed to reconcile with, I needed to forgive some people. And so I would have never done that. I would have never gotten rid of those things. And the other thing for me, you guys know me, know how I operate. I'm a man of God. And so as far as my emotions are concerned, my emotions, I was at such emotional place, and I was making emotional decisions. I was angry. I was, busting out in anger. I was, just doing things that was not me. I was drinking too much. So I was doing things out of emotion. And so what that did is, when I began to talk to him, he gave me some medicine to take, which I didn't really like, but I took it, and it brought me down off my emotions. And what happened then is I was able to then pick my faith. My faith began to kick in, because I can hear. I could hear, because my emotions were so full, I couldn't hear nothing besides my anger, besides my resentment, besides whatever the case may be, as far as some of the things that was hurting me. But when that came down, I was able to breathe. My faith began to kick in, and I began to grow spiritually. And so that's why I got off the medicine the way that I got off of it. And I began to do things in a different way as it pertains to my faith. And that just took over. It took control. And obviously I'm here because of it.
Brian, you talked about the stigma. I mean, there's a lot of stigmas involved in what we're dealing with, right? And you mentioned being Weapon X and Wolverine, and that's the guy that Eagles fans fell in love with, that they saw on Sunday nights, and they still talk about today. And I've wondered this a little bit since you've come public with your struggles through depression and everything, and what we're talking about. Did you ever feel like you had to be Wolverine or Weapon X, not even on the football field, but out in public representing that side of Brian Dawkins, when you just weren't feeling like that guy that day? Did you ever have that kind of grapple?
The only time that I did that was when I was going through that period of depression, when I was down in that place. That was the only time, because I was pretending to be happy and I was not. I was pretending like everything was okay, and I was not. I was doing a great job of acting is what I was doing. So I was putting on that mask every day, and that's a painful place. A lot of people will know exactly what I'm talking about. You're putting on a mask, like you're doing things that you think other people would enjoy, or you feel like they think you should be doing. So, and that's what I was doing. I was not a happy dude at that time. I was pretending to be happy, but I was not happy deep down inside. Not saying that I didn't smile, not saying I didn't find things to laugh about. But when you get by yourself driving somewhere, or you just by yourself, period, that's when those dark voices would come, and you would have those dark thoughts. And that's where that depression really, really, really begins to speak to myself. I can't speak for other people, but that's how it affected me. And so again, now that I know what I know, for me to hold this, here's the other thing. For me to now hold in all the things that I have learned and how I now live my life because of what I've gone through, if I don't share that with other people, if I don't reach out to say, hey man, I'm not saying you got to do exactly like I'm saying do it, but this is what I do. This is what I've done. This is what I did. And this is what I now do on a daily basis. It's a specific way that I do everything before I leave the house. I pray, read, and meditate every morning. Every morning. I pray, read, and meditate. Different time periods. Sometimes it's for 20 minutes. Sometimes it's for an hour. It really juggles. During this time of the quarantine, I mean, I've been spending sometimes 2 hours in that meditation, in that praying, in that reading, in that journaling. I've been writing more, creative writing, and I've been letting people see on Instagram and Facebook how the word and inspiration flows through me. I've been putting it on paper for others to see, and I hope it blesses people. Again, these are things that I do every day. And so for me to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can in the lane that I have to run in to help those who I have a mouth and they have an ear to listen to. Not everybody will listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. I understand that. This is what I'm saying is not for everybody. I can dig it. But for those who it is for, take heed to it. Like if you need help, men, if you need help, first of all, pray about who's around in your circle that you can talk to, that you know you can go talk to. We need to have at least one person. I have 4. We need to have at least one person that we can go have a conversation, a real conversation, not a doctored up conversation, not a conversation that's I won't say clean, but not a conversation that is fluffy. I'll say this fluffy. Like like a real conversation, I got 4 cats that I can call right now. And I know each one of them will listen to me. They will offer advice and we'll pray together. I know it. Or I'll just text them, hey man, just lift me up. I got some stuff going on. Just lift me up in prayer. Got you. And I know they're praying for me, right? But if you don't have those individuals, you have to find someone. Go, pray about the specific person that you can go to, that you can go share or get help through. Sometimes you may need counseling. And if that's the case, like, don't look down on it. Like, don't look down on talking your problems out. Because once you get your problems out, here's the things that I recognize. Once I got my problems out, I was able to fill those voids with a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff came from me getting rid of that bad stuff, talking about that bad stuff. I'm a much better person because of the things that I've gone through, yes, and it's also because I got rid of that trash in my life. I got rid of that anger, that bitterness, and I got rid of some of that resentment that I had that was festering inside of me.
Brian, one thing I did want to follow up with, and because you were talking about how you would go and talk to your friends or that group of 4 people. Once you went public with your challenges some years ago, did any ex or current players go to you and say, hey, could you help me? Because you really inspired me.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's so many guys that I've had conversations with, and so many fans that I've had conversations with, deep conversations. And that's another thing that I recognize is that, in order for you to really speak into somebody, they have to see you. They have to see not just me, not just my face. Like, they have to see my heart. They have to see my heart, feel my heart. And then a lot of times they'll open up even more. And we'll talk about things that has nothing to do with what we started off talking about. We'll go in a completely different direction and talking about some real deep stuff. But again, that's something that they need to get off their chest. And I heard this quote from, I think in the AA meeting, that, when you go in and you share your problem with somebody, when you leave out, you no longer have the whole problem to yourself. You no longer are holding the whole problem by yourself. You're no longer holding the whole problem. And how I visualized that was in order for me to lift the weight that I lift, right? I still lift weights, but when I want to increase my weight, let's say I want to max out. I'm not going to get up under that bar and try to max out if I don't have someone spotting me, right? So when I push that weight up and I get it on my chest, if I can't get it off my chest, I need a spotter to help me get that weight off my chest. So that's what we need in our lives. We need a spotter. We need someone that we can go talk to that can help get that weight off, to bear that load. That lean on me when you're not strong. That we need someone to lean on sometimes.
Bill Withers, yeah.
Yeah, we need someone to lean on.
All right, Brian, I want to just let our listeners and our viewers know right now a little bit about the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation. They can go to your website, briandawkins.com. To either
check
out your website.
It's the new. I'm happy. It's the new website too. It's new and approved website. So if you've ever saw the old one, don't even think about that no more. It's the new and approved, and I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it.
All right, and I know that there's a button to click there where you can help Brian make an impact. So you click on the icon, and you can help Brian with his Impact Foundation if you're interested. I want to let people know about EVERFI, that company you were talking about. You can follow them or check them out at everfi.com, EVERFI.com, and they're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and LinkedIn. So check out EVERFI to find out a little bit about more. And of course, Beyond Sport as well, an organization that's working with Brian Dawkins' foundation to carry out his initiatives. You have a lot going on, my friend. There's a lot of great stuff that we just covered, and we also obviously wanted to talk to you a little bit about some things that are Eagles related. And a lot of people will probably want your impression right now on the Eagles and what they're doing and the direction they're going in. But I've been kind of fascinated, because I haven't really had a chance to catch up with you in a while, about what your time was like as an administrator when you worked in the Eagles front office, and what you really took from that. I think most people thought, watching you play, oh, he's going to be a coach, he's going to be, and then you talked about going into a front office type of job after you were retired, and you had that with the Eagles. So what was that like for you? What did you learn?
Wow. So during that time, I was led to do that. I was 100% led to do that. I just felt a pulling, and a pulling back to Philadelphia to go back and do some things. And, I did a lot of stuff behind the scenes. It's what I tried to do. I tried to have conversations. It's kind of the stuff that I talked about, sharing information with individuals, or just talking to individuals and helping them be the better versions of themselves is what I tried to do, and listening. Like that's something that a lot of people don't do a good job of. Like sometimes we'll have a conversation with somebody and we can't wait to say the comment that we're thinking about, instead of truly listening to people. So I did a lot of listening to individuals. And one of the blessed things that I was able to do is like, there's a specific culture that we had when I was there. And it didn't start with me. It was individuals that helped kind of grow the culture that myself and others took over and took it to another level in some regards. And that was, Troy Vincent, William Thomas, Irvin Fryer. Like, those were some guys that really gave us some very good tools to work with. I say it like that, because I watched them cats. I watched how they did things and how they handle situations. So what I wanted to do is do my best to help some of the leaders bring out the best in themselves. And so that was some of the things that I was blessed to do there. I did some coaching on the side, some not coaching. I did some critiquing on the side. It's not criticizing, some critiquing. Critiquing is, to me, the way that I see it is critiquing comes from someone that cares about you, that wants to see better from you. So they'll critique you. Somebody who gives you just criticism don't care about you. They just, hey, you did this wrong, and whatever happens, happens. But I tried to do my best to help some of those guys out, to bring, again, so that they can be the best version of themselves that they can be. And the philosophy behind all of that is the fact that if you coach or you help the person first, you will get a much better player. And that's a lot of times is not the case when it comes to some organizations. They don't look to help the person. They just think that we're football players and you just come to do your job. No, if that football player has issues at home, with his wife, with his girlfriend, with his mom, with his children. He's not going to be whole to be able to come to work. He's going to be dealing with some things. He's not going to be able to give everything that he can give to the organization. He'll give you what he has left, but he won't be able to give you everything he can give you. So if I can help that individual to deal with some of the things that he's dealing with off the field, to give him some answers off the field, he's going to be a lot more whole to be adding that extra energy. Remember I was talking about that negative stuff that I had to get rid of to fill it up with some positive stuff. It's the same thing. If they have things that are inside of them that's preventing them from operating at their fullest, if we can help that out and we can help them in that area, they'll be a better player. But it doesn't stop there. They'll become a better player, but they're also in return become a better person for the long haul. So when football is over, they'll be better because of it. So that was the way that I thought about my time in Philadelphia, and I enjoyed the heck out of it, man.
You were sowing the seeds. You were sowing the seeds of your foundation. It sounds like. I mean, you were starting the Impact Foundation right then and there.
Yep. You saw right through it. That's basically what was happening. Right then and there, I saw the effect caring has for people, resources has for people. Sometimes words go a long way. When you can give someone a positive word, a true positive from a caring place, like words. The Bible talks in Proverbs about words can heal the bones. Like, so when I speak positive words and they know that I care about them, like, yeah, man, practice is going to be different that day. It is because there's somebody that believes in the skills that I have, and they have seen something that they see that I can do. Hey, man, let me go out there and see if I can see what they see when I watch film. You see what I'm saying? Like, so, like, I love that. I love that feeling. I love the feeling to see that young eye just open wide open the next time you see him after they've tried something that you suggested. I love to see that. Because it's not about me, it's about them. Because once again, if they go out and ball out, they're going to make more money and they're going to be able to bless their family even more. And they're going to be a lot more of a whole person to handle the money that they get. Man, come on. Y'all got me preaching up here. Right?
Hey, it's all good. So speaking of preaching, we look at the situation now with the rookies coming in. You are a rookie.
You talked about your struggles. Back as a rookie. Now, you had your own challenges. What is this rookie class in this day and age? Because you've got younger children. What are the kids coming in now, 20, 21, 22 years old? What are those challenges like for the kids who are coming in here with the Eagles?
Well, it's a completely different struggle for them because of what's going on in the world. Like, they're going to be coming into a situation that none of us know actually when that's going to happen, to be honest with you at this point. So there's a lot of things up in the air. So all that they can control is training, making sure that they're in the best shape that they can be before they get to camp. I'm pretty sure that the Eagles have talked to them about some of the conditioning they can possibly do. One of the hardest things about a rookie is you don't know what to expect. Even if somebody tells you what to expect, you still don't know what to expect. So there's a lot of anxiety that you have to, work through when it comes to that, not knowing. The playbook is going to be different. You know that. There's going to be veterans that aren't going to love up to you right away. You got to earn the respect, which is a great thing. You have to earn your way to be whatever. It doesn't matter. College at that point does not matter. It really does not matter because you've seen guys that have a lot of success in college did not have even a little bit of success in the NFL. So it's not a guarantee that someone's going to go to college and come to the pros and have success. So I love the draft. Don't get me wrong. I love the draft and I love the young guys coming in, but it's not a guarantee. Again, I've seen so many guys that look great in shorts, look great in college, look great in shorts. But when you put the pads on and you go to preseason and you start to really hitting, they fade away. So if you ask me about this class, I don't know. We will see. There's some potential there. Absolutely. There's a lot of guys that, not a lot of guys, a couple of guys that, I know personally. So I expect them to have some success. But like, again, you just never know.
Let's talk about someone you probably know personally from the draft class, because the Eagles drafted a safety from Clemson, Brian. And I almost feel for the kid a little bit because it was like as soon as the name was on the card in red, it's like Brian Dawkins. And I know, you know, I see you shaking your head. So you know what K'Von Wallace is going through. And I imagine you probably even spoke to him already.
Yeah, we've talked, and same thing I always tell him that, you know, the things that me and anybody talk about, even when I was a player, I should tell you guys the same thing then. Like what me and such talked about, it's between us. So, you know, I've talked to him. I know him, you know him well. And he roomed with my son, Brian Jr. for 2 years. And so, you know, I know about him. He's a hard worker, extremely hard worker, comes from a very tough background. But the thing about him is he earned his way into being a leader at Clemson, who's won a couple of national championships, right? So that tells you that about his workload, his ability to play in the big games. He knows what that feels like. He knows what it feels like to have a lot of pressure put on him because of the way that they used him in Clemson. They used him like they've used Malcolm in the past in a lot of different ways in the slot. They've used him blitzing. So he's very versatile when it comes to that. But again, I tell people, like, I understand you're excited. I really do. And he's from Clemson, safety, hard worker, good heart, you know, talks the talk, all those things. But let K'Von be K'Von. Like, don't make K'Von Brian Dawkins because you can't. You can't. Like, I had to earn Brian Dawkins myself, right? It took me a while for me to be Brian Dawkins all the way, right? So, like, don't expect somebody else to be somebody that he cannot be. Like, he can't be me. He can be him. And so hopefully the him that he can be will be, you know, a special dude down the road, even soon. I don't know. But again, allow him room to be him. Like, don't put those expectations on. I see it all on social media. They putting my picture next to his, and like, don't do that to him. Don't do that to him.
What does speed do for you as a defender? Because the Eagles spent
a lot of draft capital on speed, 3 guys, and plus they brought in Marquise Goodwin for the 49ers. So as a defensive back, what kind of challenges does guys who could run fast give to you as a defender?
Well, you saw it. You saw it at the Super Bowl, right? You saw it on Kansas City's run.
Oh, yeah.
Like they had probably the fastest cat in the league doing his thing, and he can bust the top off of any defense. So you have to govern or do things different with him. It was the same thing with Randy Moss. You got to do different things when it comes to Randy Moss. But if you can now add 3 guys that can run like that, 4 guys that can run like that, like who you gonna, like, make sure you roll over the top of? Like, you can't roll over top of everybody because that'd be a too deep. You can't play too deep the whole game because they'll run down your throat. Like, people will have 400 yards rushing on you if you play too deep the whole game. You know, I'm not talking about the old school Tampa 2. I'm talking about, you know, if you try to play too deep. So it puts a lot of stress on defensive coordinators first, and then defenders trying to, you know, not just survive during the game. Like, that's one thing that I watch. If a guy's trying to survive and he's not actually trying to thrive. I want guys that have the ability to thrive, right? You don't want people to just surviving. Surviving means that I'm not trying to make a play on the ball. I'm not really trying to look for the ball. I'm just looking at this dude, and hopefully he don't run past me. So I'm going to grab him and hold on to him as much as possible. So, and I'll play off and I'm going to play soft because I'm trying to survive, right? That's what speed can do to the individuals that don't come close to matching that top end speed.
Brian, you mentioned how K'Von Wallace was used a lot like Malcolm Jenkins. So I have to ask you, I mean, as someone who, a lot of people say it almost seems like deja vu all over again with Malcolm not on the Eagles. Did you, I'm sure you watched that situation either from up close or afar. Did you see it coming?
I mean, you can kind of see some of that stuff coming at this point. Like, you can see kind of the writings on the wall a little bit. Malcolm had his stance on what he felt, and he has every right to that stance, and the Eagles have the stance that they had. And, you know, you can kind of see what kind of both of them kind of writing this, you know, drawing the line in the sand, saying, hey, this is where I stand and this is where I'm not moving from. So I can kind of see it coming, to be honest with you.
Do you feel like it's just now that's the business, or is there a little bit of unfortunate because of everything that he meant for the team and winning the Super Bowl, and, you know, someone who many years before went through the same experience? I'm wondering if you felt like if ever happened again, it would change. It would be different.
Yeah, and I understand. Like, people want to like put the two together, but it's not. It's not the same. It really is not. Malcolm did a great job for this organization. Tremendous leader. He's doing a lot of things off the field as well. He is. So I give Malcolm a lot of props in all of those things. Malcolm was, I was looking for a contract that was not there, right? He had a contract that I'm not going to play under that contract. So there's some similarities, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Doc, one thing before we get out of here, I believe you were on the field for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl 3 years ago.
What was it like to be on that field that Philadelphia finally got their ring and their trophy?
Oh, it was tremendous. It was tremendous. And, you know, I've said it before, actually before they won the Super Bowl. You know, after it was announced that I went to the Hall of Fame, I said, you know, in the visions that I have seen, I see myself owning two rings this weekend. And I said it before the game. So I knew, I just knew, I really, really knew, I felt it, that they were going to do whatever it took to win that ball game. They were going to pull it out. So even through the ups and downs and the offenses putting up those huge numbers, both sides, I just knew that some way, they were going to pull it out and we were going to come out on top. And when it finally happened, man, I was, you know, tears of joy, like snot bubble, crying, and because I was so excited for the city of Philadelphia. I really, really, really was. And to see these young men come together the way that they came together, that first year of losing so many games, I think it was like 7 games within 3 points or something like that, being close enough to win every game that first year. And they kept coming short. But it's in those times, I always tell people this, it's in those times that you're losing like that you can have tough conversations with people. It's hard to have tough conversations with people when you're winning. But when you're losing and you've lost a couple of games, now you can have a conversation with somebody and you can really dig in a little bit some of the things that need to change. And they saw those things. They recognized them for themselves. They listened to other things they did not recognize. And you can see it change that next year. When this cat goes down, when that cat goes down, because a lot of people they lost, you know, for different reasons during the year, right? And they continue to rise to the occasion, time and time again. So they had built that culture that first year, going through that first year. By that second year, they had some dynamics in place, and they began to go and continued to grow until we brought that thing home. And that parade was outstanding. Outstanding. It was everything. It was everything that I thought it was going to be, and then some. It was.
Well, Brian, you got the ring. The Eagles got the ring. Andy Reid now has a ring. It feels like everything is all right in the world. I mean, the triumvirate right there is complete. Look, we can't thank you enough for joining us. We're very appreciative for coming on Inside the Birds. We're so happy to provide this platform to help you spread the word about your foundation and the initiatives that you're doing. Well, we want to ask everybody again to go to briandawkins.com, learn more about his Impact Foundation, help out if you can, learn if you can.
Check out all the other things that are coming. Like, there's some other things coming. First, we're going to start in Jacksonville, but EVERFI has given us the okay to start as soon as possible in Philadelphia. So we're going to begin to research and do our research and homework on some schools in Philadelphia. But at the same time, as much donations that we can get for the foundation is how many schools we'll be able to sponsor, so they won't have to do anything. So that's the thing about it. I'm sponsoring the schools in Jacksonville so that they don't have to pay anything. All they need to do is come with a computer and a smile on their face, or a frown. I don't care, a smile or a frown, but just come ready to learn. That's all they have to do. And so we're going to do those same things in Philadelphia. Same exact things.
That's great. That is tremendous. So again, go to briandawkins.com, go to everfi.com, learn about more of them, think beyond and beyond sports. So we appreciate their partnership with Brian and helping us arrange this interview. That is going to do it for Inside the Birds TV. For Brian Dawkins and Adam Kaplan, I'm Jeff Mosher. And I think, as Brian might say, we hope everybody has a blessed day. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.